All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome today. We are going to be putting a bunch of graphing skills together, doing lesson really 4.3 and 4.4, but it's primarily 4.4. We're going to be graphing linear equations in slope-intercept form. So on day one, we're going to have our slope-intercept form given to us. And on day two, we're going to have to go ahead and transform it or change it, if you will. Now, if you remember, our slope is written as m. So when you're given a form of y equals mx plus b, the m is the coefficient of x, which simply means it's the fraction in front of the x. And remember, if it's not a fraction, you can simply put a 1 underneath it, and now you have it as a rise over run. Our b value is really that back number, and that's our y-intercept. But remember, our y-intercept is an ordered pair that starts with 0, like maybe 0, 2, and that's where the line touches the y-axis. So our goal for this beginning is to be able to think about the equation in slope-intercept form. And this will actually make a good connection when we're doing 4.6. So if I give you a slope of 2 and a y-intercept of -3, you should be able to write the equation in slope-intercept form. Remember, that's y equals mx plus b. And it's really just quick substitution, right? The slope is 2, y-intercept is -3. So it just looks like this. So in other words, when I give you an equation that y is equal to 2x subtract 3, you should be able to identify the slope and the y-intercept. So if I give you the slope and y-intercept, you should be able to write the equation. So it's going to go back and forth. So for this one, we have a slope of 2/3. So both slopes are positive on example A and example B, so they're both going uphill. Notice the y-intercept this time is a positive number, so that would be a different starting location. We'll talk about that in a moment. Remember, it's y equals mx plus b. So it's really just 2/3 x plus 7. So again, we want to be able to identify it, but also be able to write it. So a positive slope, remember how we talked about that it goes uphill, rise over run? This is how we're going to be doing our graphing. Let's say it's something like 2/3, like on the previous one. Our y-intercept is our starting point. Let's say that we start on the y-axis at 0, 1. So what I'm going to ask you to do on your beautiful notes is just go ahead and put a starting point there. That represents where we are on the y-axis. So again, we're going to go ahead and make it look like essentially some steps because my slope is rise over run. So maybe it's rise 2, run 3. Because again, my slope 2/3 would be rise 2, run 3. I'm going to put a little dot there. Then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to rise 2 and run 3. Or maybe it's rise 1 and run 4. Really doesn't matter, but again, we would just simply count our numbers. So in other words, this is a little bit different than what we've done before. I had a graph, and I had to count my rise and my run to find the slope. This time, I'm going to give you the slope, and then you have to count the rise and the run to make the graph. Now, we know positive slope's going uphill, so this looks like reading left to right. You're going up the steps. For a negative slope, we know that's going downhill. So I'm going to go ahead and make some steps that look like they're going down the stairs. So I'm going to pick a starting point. Maybe it's still 0, 1. But this time, instead of counting up for my rise, since it's negative, it's going to be counting down some boxes. So maybe down 2, right 3. Put your dot. Down 2, right 3. Put your dot. So if you notice, it'd look like it's going down the stairs. We read left to right, going downhill. Now, when we do our graphing using slope-intercept form, we are looking for a minimum of 3 points. More points, even better. 3 points is the minimum. So we're going to do just 4 quick examples together. We have y is equal to -2x plus 5. So kind of backwards from what we did at the very beginning is I'm going to go ahead and label my slope. Now my slope is the coefficient of x, which means it's the number in front of x. I like bringing the negative sign up top, so I say it's -2/3. The back number, the b, if you will, is the y-intercept. Remember, y-intercept is an ordered pair starting with x is 0, so it's 0, 5. So if you can do those two identification pieces, the next part is making your graph. Now, on your notes, you probably don't have a nice, neat coordinate plane like I'm going to show you, so you're really going to make your steps. So observe. Starting point, or beginning point, as some students like to call it, is 0, 5, which means from the origin, I'm not going to move left or right. I'm going to count up 5 boxes. So, that's not as big as we would like, so let's get the pointer out. Let's make it, a little bit bigger. There we go. Then I'm going to count using my slopes. Let me change it back to the arrow. So it says down 2. So that's down 1, 2, right 3. 1, 2, 3. One more time. It says down 2. Down 1, 2, right 1, 2, 3. And that puts my new point there. But remember, I need a minimum of 3, so I got to do it again. So down 1, 2, right 1, 2, and it's going to go just a little bit off, and that's okay. 3. I think on your coordinate planes, it shouldn't go off. I think we gave you a nice 10 by 10 grid. Once I have my 3 points, I'm going to go ahead and make my line, just like we talked about on the Kami extension, and putting your equation, your original line. 3 points, line with arrows, nice equation. All right, let's try the next one. So I have y is equal to 2x subtract 1. Again, it's already in slope-intercept form. I need to identify my slope, represented as m, and the y-intercept represented as b. And remember, the slope is in front of the x. So I see a 2, but that's really a 2 over 1. And b is a negative value, -1, so that's 0, -1. So if you can identify those two numbers, let's go ahead and make that beautiful graph. The beginning or starting point, again, is my y-intercept, 0, -1. That means I start at the origin. I don't go left or right. I just go down 1 box. Then according to my slope, 2 over 1, uphill because it's positive. Let's go ahead and make up 1, 2, right 1. Up 1, 2, right 1. Every year, I have students who choose to do more than 2 points. If you'd like to do that again, that would be up 1, 2, right 1. And I'll even talk about the backwards counting right now. Let's say that you ran out of room going up to right 1, and you want to try the backwards counting. So coming here to the beginning point, you still want them to all line up, so that backwards counting would be down 1, 2, left 1. Down 1, 2, left 1. And if you put dots there, they would still line up. Again, using your Kami extension or printing out your paper and lining it up with a straight edge or ruler. Make our line. Oh, that one should be a little bit longer right here. Apologize about that, because again, we want to try and go edge to edge. And let's go ahead and label our line. So remember, if you don't have a fraction like the slope was 2, I simply wrote it as 2 over 1 because I want a rise over run. The other thing I'd like to point out, maybe you want to write this down, an improper fraction. An improper fraction is going to give you a steep hill, going uphill, very steep, or downhill sometimes, very steep. If it's a proper fraction, like 2/3, 1/4, then that will be more of a gradual uphill. And that's really good for matching graphs, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Ooh, look at this one. Improper fraction, -4 over 3, so it's going to be a little bit steep. All right, let's label, or identify really. Slope is -4/3, y-intercept is 0, 3. Now remember, it's always the y-intercept. I still have some students who put their starting point after years of teaching this, years of practice, even weeks of students practicing like last year and the previous year, where they still start on the x-axis. But it's called the y-intercept, so we start on the y-axis. So I put my pencil in the origin or the drawing tool for Cami, I don't go left or right because it says 0. Then it says 1, 2, 3, point. Uh-oh. There we go. Let's make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Now I'm going to do my slope, which is down 4, right 3. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me try that one more time for some of you. Down 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that I've done the -4, which is technically the rise, I'm going to run to the right. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Now, I'm probably going to go off a little bit, but yours on your assignment should be a little bit better. Down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. 1, 2, 3. Again, you can tell your parents, I taught you how to count today. We're counting 4 boxes, then 3 boxes. All right, make your line, arrows, equation. Very nice. All right, I think just one more for day 1, and then day 2 has the more complicated work. Oh, look at that. We're already done. All right, so what you're going to do, again, is complete your assignment just like we did here. And then remember, if you have questions, make sure you ask for help. All right, be awesome.